You're looking at Odontochelys semidestacia, a strange little reptile moving through swamp waters of the late Triassic world. It swims through shallow, murky swamps surrounded by other early reptiles competing for survival in harsh prehistoric ecosystems. Under its body sits a surprising line of defense that changes everything about how you think turtles evolved. Instead of a full protective casing, it carries a hard, developed shell only across its belly for protection. That belly armor is not a random feature. It represents one of the earliest steps toward modern turtles. This creature shows you evolution in progress, frozen at a stage between soft-bodied reptiles and fully armored turtles. Odontochelys sits near the base of turtle ancestry, showing a half-built body plan unlike anything alive today. Modern turtles don't appear suddenly. They come from gradual changes captured in fossils like this one. Here's the key idea. Turtles don't just have one shell, they actually develop two separate structures. Those two shells form independently, while the animal is still an embryo developing inside the egg. Both structures grow from the skeleton itself, eventually forming a protective system made from dozens of bones. What you're seeing is a blueprint of modern turtles written in bone and evolutionary history. Inside every turtle egg, development starts the same way as other reptiles, birds, and mammals at the cellular level. Embryos begin as simple, undifferentiated cells that don't yet know what body parts they will become. Signals between cells activate genes that guide transformation into organs, tissues, and complex skeletal structures. This genetic communication is what turns a simple cluster of cells into a fully structured organism. At first, turtle embryos look almost identical to other vertebrates sharing the same basic developmental blueprint. But one unusual feature begins to appear early, setting turtles apart from every other developing reptile. That feature is a thickened band of tissue called the carapacial ridge forming along the embryo's body. This ridge expands around the body, shaping a disc-like structure between the neck and lower back regions. It acts like a guide, directing where ribs will grow and how the upper shell will take shape. Instead of curving inward like normal ribs, they shift outward toward this growing carapacial structure. Those ribs then release signals that trigger surrounding cells to become bone-forming tissue. What happens next reshapes the entire skeleton, locking the body into the turtle form you recognize today. Around 50 bones gradually grow and expand, forming the main structure of the turtle's upper shell. These bones continue expanding until they meet and connect through strong sutures between each segment. A solid ring of bone forms around the edges, locking the carapace into a stable protective dome. On top of this structure, skin cells create protective scales called scutes that cover the shell surface. These scutes form patterns that strengthen protection while also giving each turtle its unique surface design. What you get is a living armor system built layer by layer from skeleton to skin. The bottom half of the shell, called the plastron, forms through a completely different developmental pathway. Neural crest cells spread across the belly, carrying the ability to become many different tissue types. These cells can transform into neurons, cartilage, or bone depending on signals they receive during development. As they gather, they create a shield-like structure that begins shaping the underside of the turtle's body. 9 distinct plate-like bones form across this region, gradually building the structure of the plastron. Eventually, these plates connect to the upper shell through sutures, completing the full protective enclosure. A full turtle shell is powerful protection, but it creates serious challenges for movement and breathing. As turtles grow, the sutures between shell bones expand, limiting flexibility across the rigid structure. Unlike most reptiles and mammals, turtles cannot expand a rib cage to pull air into their lungs. Instead, they rely on abdominal muscles attached to the shell to actively pump air in and out. One muscle draws air in, while another forces it out, replacing the typical rib-driven breathing system. This adaptation shows how evolution solves problems created by its own protective innovations. To understand turtle evolution, you go back over 260 million years to early ancestors like Unitosaurus africanus. This animal looked nothing like a modern turtle, yet it already showed broad, flattened ribs. Those ribs likely supported strong forelimb muscles, helping it dig and survive in underground burrows. Burrowing behavior may have driven early changes that later contributed to the evolution of shells. Later fossils like Odontochelys show thicker ribs plus a protective belly plate, a more advanced step. Then comes Progonochelys around 210 million years ago with a fully fused shell structure. Progonochelys represents the first clear modern-style turtle shell, locking ribs and bones into one rigid structure. Unlike modern turtles, it could not retract its head, relying instead on neck spines for defense. From there, turtles diversify into land, water, and ocean specialists with dramatically different shell shapes. Sea turtles develop flatter shells designed to cut through water with minimal resistance and maximum speed. Land tortoises evolve domed shells that protect them from predators and help them right themselves when flipped. Even leatherbacks and softshell turtles reduce bone and scute structures, adapting shells for flexibility and speed.